You're listening to the Wayward Atheist Podcast. Hello, everyone. If this is your first time listening, thank you for joining us. This is a podcast where borders collide, where the gloves are off, where filters are removed, where we tell you exactly what we think about the news, politics, and religion. The Wayward Atheist Podcast is dedicated to free thought, reason, and the pursuit of truth. You can follow us on Twitter at Wayward Atheist, on Spreaker, Stitcher, and iTunes. You can email us at waywardatheistpodcast@gmail.com. or leave us a comment on our Facebook page. So without further ado, let's get on with the show.
Hello and welcome to the Wayward Atheist Podcast. I'm Dave, aka the Great White North.
I'm Big Black Gay Dave.
I'm Ed, the Everyday Atheist.
I'm Dustin Dart.
And tonight we are joined by...
Hey, it's Kevin from Lifted Valley.
So Kevin, you are from British Columbia and you have an atheist-based podcast there?
That's right. Greetings and salutation from beautiful British Columbia. I am the host of the Lifted Valley radio podcast. And we've been doing this for about up to 3 years now. Although I'm originally from Quebec, I'm a French Canadian. Don't hold that against me, please.
Too late.
I have not heard good things.
So you're out of Kamloops? So where are you from?
No, we're actually in the Canadian Bible Belt. We're actually in Abbotsford, BC, which is actually per capita the town with the most churches per capita, essentially, across the country. Yeah.
What a funny stat. I thought it would have been somewhere in fucking Saskatchewan for sure.
Well, you know, this area around here is very conservative, Mennonite-driven, especially here in Abbotsford. If you're not Mennonite, you're not going anywhere.
Wow.
Well, you heard about the Amish girl, why she got kicked out of the Amish community.
No.
Too Mennonite.
You son of a bitch. File that fucking...
I think it's
So, how many people are on your podcast?
Well, we've had a lot of people come in and out. Usually we have a group of about four of us, and we're usually broadcasting out of a little studio, which I am in right now. Instead of doing it online like a lot of podcasts, we're actually in the same room together, and we have some nice interaction. So it varies, but usually we stick around 4 people at a time.
Yeah, I think the studio thing works for audio quality and also just being face to face with people. I think it would give more of a personal touch to your conversation. Kind of hard to do though when you know your co-hosts are all over the country and then into the United States.
Totally understandable. But the great thing about having your co-host with you in the room is the chemistry that forms between the people, and the bouncing off from one another becomes more and more interesting and much more spontaneous, I guess I should say.
Right on. And what are some of the things that you guys like to tackle on your podcast?
Well, our show derived... There was a little atheist group here called FVASH, for Fraser Valley Atheists, Skeptics, and Humanists. And our show was a branch off that. Like in every atheist group, there are some people that are more there for the social aspects, and then there's some of us that are more activists. And so I decided to do the podcast and then take the more activist element out of the group and try to do something with it. Our show is based on those 3 principles. You know, we try to do an atheist show, and then we try to do a skeptical look at something, and then we try to do a humanist show. So we have a wide variety of topics. We've tackled anything from dying with dignity to finances to we have a lot of great interviews on the show. You know, alums like Matt Dillahunty, Seth Andrews, Lawrence Krauss, Arn Raw, David Fitzgerald, etc., etc.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I was about to bring up was the caliber of guests that you guys seem to have had. It's pretty high quality.
Yeah, it's not too bad for a little show out of a little apartment. You'd be surprised how the people in the atheist movement are very open and very willing to give some of their time to help you. David Fitzgerald is a perfect example of that. The man is just a pearl. You cannot help but just love the man right away as soon as you meet him. As soon as you start talking to him, he's just going above and beyond to make sure that the word is spread out. So, and that's been the case for most of them. You know, we've run into very few people that are quote unquote difficult.
Right on. Ed, do you have any questions?
On your show, when you talk about subjects, do you get into the politics aspect? Do you get into, or is it just the atheist side of the conversation?
We do all of it. A lot of the atheist podcasts you see out there are either very humorous, which is great. I'm not that witty. Or they could be also very intellectual, and I'm not that bright either. So I wanted to do a show that just appeals to the very common person. And, you know, it's almost like having coffee with a bunch of people, and we're just putting a mic in front of it. I've even had some people come on the show and say, I don't know what to contribute to the show. And I usually tell them, well, you may not, but you may have that one question that somebody in the audience will think about that I won't think about. You know, if you have a bunch of talking heads on a show, it becomes very intellectual, and then you lose part of your audience because they can't relate to it. I wanted to make a show that was much more relatable, much more for the ordinary Canadian or American or something like that. Not necessarily somebody who's got the PhD. They're great to talk to. They're great to listen to, have a lecture to, but have a show week after week of PhDs. You kind of lose them after a while, right? It's like, yeah, I can't follow what you're talking about. I'm sorry. I'd rather sit in a corner and eat paste, you know?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we try to do on the Wayward Atheist is just be ourselves.
Exactly.
We talk about all kinds of stuff. But the thing that I'd like to ask you is, in particular, in your area, is there any religious obstacles that are preventing you from achieving any goals that you would have out there?
I wouldn't say there are people fighting necessarily against us here in Abbotsford, but they won't help you either. There are some little battles that we fight out here. Like, for example, there was a creationist display at the Agri-Fair one year. And we just had to make a bit of fuss, you know, to say, hey, what's this? You know, the politicians all shy away, but, you know, so some little battles like that we've won. You know, we've managed to remove a nativity display one time for that was on public land. You know, it's been replaced with something.
You're a mean bastard.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
He's just joking.
I've had this battle with one of the MLAs here, and I told him, I said, look, I said, you're putting a nativity display on your window and all that. That's fine. But I want you, if you're going to do that, then you need to put something during Ramadan, and you need to put something during, you know, something Jewish, or you need to make sure that all the other, it's about inclusivity, right? It has to be fair. And of course, he came back to me saying, oh, no, nativity scene is not something religious. I said, oh, come on, give me a break here, right? So we are fighting about, on these little battles. We are winning some of them. I wouldn't say there's like huge persecution, but I think that's just Canadian apathy, really.
I'm in Newfoundland. We have a high Catholic and Anglican populace, so I had to fight some of my own battles here as well. But it's interesting to get a different perspective from a different part of the country. So that's all I have to say.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, as compared to what the Americans are facing on a daily basis down in places like Texas and Oklahoma, we have it pretty easy up here. We do have some little battles here and there, but it's nothing like, I don't think Justin Trudeau is going to come into Parliament tomorrow and start trying to teach creationism in school. It's not going to happen. But nonetheless, I have to remind people that we are still the only line of defense. And here in Abbotsford, unfortunately, I've been talking to a lot of people like Aaron Raw and all that. I see creationism trying to make its way across the border. And places like Abbotsford are like the front line for that. And we're trying.
I'm sorry, man. We didn't finish the antibiotics we were given. Like, you know how you start feeling better? You start feeling better, and then you just like, fuck it, they make you feel shitty. And you got a little case of the Christians. I'm sorry.
I love that.
I want to touch back. You're not going to see Justin Trudeau go into Parliament and try to pass creationism. No, you're not. But you will see him trying to pass motions that, you know, point to one religion over others.
Yeah, you talk about M103.
It's not like he's completely out of the religion business, period. Right?
Yeah, well, you talk about M103, right? I'm assuming?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I want to point out that although it's rare that I agree with conservatives on this, I totally don't like M103 either, but it is just a motion, right? And on top of that, you have to look at the intention behind it. The intention is actually honorable. You know, we're just the person who's trying to bring this motion. I forget her name. You know, her intentions are honorable. She's just trying to protect people from discrimination. She's just using the wrong tool. You know.
Okay. First, I'm going to come back to you on that and say that they are sending the Canadian Heritage Foundation they're giving them 200 days to check and see if there's any systemic Islamophobia, and if there is, they're coming back with recommendations for Parliament.
Yes.
So that's where the trouble is. It's when they come back for recommendations. The second point that I would make to that is that they were asked just to change the wording to anti-Muslim bigotry, which they refused to do, because anti-Muslim bigotry then kind of defines it, where Islamophobia is not defined, and they refuse to define it. They've been asked to define it; they won't define it. So I find it very sneaky and underhanded. Also, some of the wording that he used in the speech during the Women's Day was very like, we're going to suss you out, we're going to get you if you don't agree with the fact that there's that Canada's full of hate and there's this Islamophobia everywhere. We're gonna get you. You have no business here. So I find it very suspect, and it makes me kind of step back and get the heebie-jeebies.
Well, I will admit that this last revelation of you telling me that they have been asked to change some of the wording and they refuse kind of surprises me. I wasn't aware of that, and of course that does make someone kind of think back, and we certainly have to keep an eye on it, right? Politics being what it is, and Canadian public being pretty apathetic, it comes down to the atheist, I guess, to keep an eye on that, and hopefully maybe bring some sanity to the discussion.
It seems to me that atheism, or some atheists, seem to have a soft spot for Islam, right? Like if something like this was coming up for Christianity, I think a lot. I understand that, like Christianity is considered in this bill, but a specific word for not being opposed almost to Christianity, the atheist community would be much more outraged, and it's curious to me. To be honest,
I think this is also a great way for people to have more conversations about religion in general, because it's not something we talk about in general in society, in Canadian society, very frequently. Religion, everybody has their own religion, or they're non-religious, but we kind of just let people be, but we don't have straightforward conversations about it. I think this is the start of some interesting conversations in general, in the general community.
Of course, I mean, really, we have blasphemy laws still on the books, and those are dangerous. I mean, as we saw in Denmark not long ago, that a law that has been buried for about 75 years has been resurrected and used against a man for burning a Quran. So we have an antiquated law on our books that needs to be removed, because blasphemy is, to me, there's nothing sacred. So therefore, there is nothing to blaspheme. And for me to be going to prison because I'm expressing an opinion, it seems ludicrous, to say the least.
So if I said to you that hockey wasn't a good sport, that's not blasphemy?
No.
No, you're quite right.
I guess it would be for some.
For some people, it would be. All right, so we're going to head out for a break. We'll be right back. Hello, and we're back from the break, and now we're going to get into how's your week. Dave, how was your week, buddy?
My week has been okay. I'm still dealing with some family health stuff with my mom. I shaved my beard, so I'm somewhat clean shaven. Still practicing Japanese. And I think that's about it. On my bike, enjoying the weather, working, that kind of thing.
We did notice that you shaved your beard, by the way. Yes. It wasn't like we didn't notice.
No one said anything, so I thought all that hair just went unnoticed.
That's because it freaked me the fuck out, man. It freaked me the fuck out. I didn't know
decided that I don't like the way I look. I don't have facial hair, so I need to have some kind of facial hair. I'm going to regrow it. I'm going to get long again. I just want to go through the whole process of
You're going to go back to Al Qaeda David any day now?
Exactly.
And Edward.
Well, I've had a pretty busy week. Between editing and reading, I've been nonstop. Plus, my daughter's in Europe. She just was in France, and I had a bit of a scare when that incident in France yesterday. but luckily she was in Belgium at the time, so they missed that by a day. So glad she's safe, and she comes back tomorrow. I can't wait. So other than that, my week was as boring as usual.
Good deal. Dustin?
Well, this week was nice. I'd like to recommend a podcast. I'm sure most everyone listening has heard it by now, but S-Town is really good. It's by Serial and This American Life, and it is set about 20-30 minutes from here. And it's just a really, really well done story. I think it captures a lot of what it's like to be eccentric in a conservative environment.
Wait a minute. Dustin,
Here, Dustin.
Dustin, hold on a second. I paid you $50 to recommend my podcast. What happened?
Well, if you move it here, it'll make
to Alabama.
I'm going to give it.
Yeah,
That's right,
Alabama.
That's right. If you move it here, then I can kind of hawk my culture and be like, hey guys, check this out. It'll help you understand a little bit more about the South because it's misunderstood. So I don't know, man. I'm just kidding with you. Which I know you're joking, and now this is getting awkward because.
We all talking for no reason whatsoever. Yeah. I would say that is more than a podcast. It's a audio documentary.
Yeah, it is. It is extremely well done. It is pretty much 7-8 hours of very well done documentation. I would say of very interesting people and events. I don't want to spoil any of it, but check it out. Outside of that, I come home today and my cat had flipped my TV off the table, so. It's broken. That's nice.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, that's it though.
Just one thing about S-Town.
Mm-hmm.
It's addictive. So once you listen to the first episode, buckle in because you can't stop listening until it's over.
Oh yeah, it's super good.
All right, well that brings it to me. Notice that my dog's starting to get old. That really sucks because he's my buddy, and I notice he's starting to slow down during the walks and stuff. It's tough because like as far as like other dogs go, he's clearly not that old. He's only 6.5, but for his breed, they only live like 8 years, so heading into the back 9. But I do have some pretty freaking good news that I was saving. I didn't want to tell you, Ed, until today. The OC and the speech therapist for the Ottawa Carleton District School Board have re-diagnosed Rain as now he's diagnosed as verbal autistic, as before he was nonverbal autistic. So he's able to speak enough words and form enough sentences that they've re-diagnosed him as verbal. So I was pretty fucking stoked.
Awesome.
Oh man,
that's great news.
Amazing news.
Ongoing thing, obviously, but it came on. Like it was super long until he started talking, but once he did, it started moving pretty quick.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah, for sure. But that's enough of my sad my dog's getting old story. We'll jump into the show. In the first segment of the night, we're going to talk about what's going on in Chechnya. I'm really pissed off about it in the obvious ways, because you shouldn't commit genocide on people, period. But I'm pissed off that it's not getting enough attention. I'm pissed off that our Western governments are not doing anything about it because Chechnya is backed by the fucking bully that is Putin. The president of Chechnya was installed by Putin and is nothing more than a thug for the Kremlin. So I just think that more people need to talk about this. More people need to, put it out as a hashtag. More people need to fucking just make noise about it so that it's undeniable for our governments to have to address it. If nothing else, even sanctions, embargoes, whatever. So basically what's happening is in Chechnya, the president of the country, who's an Islamic dictator that, like I said, was put into power by Putin, has taken it upon himself to rid his country of all gay and bisexual men by the time Ramadan comes around. So fucking, yeah, he's a real cunt.
The scary part about this whole situation is, as you mentioned earlier, that none of the Western leaders have interjected into this. In an article that I read earlier this week, our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, requested that Russia look into it. This is the person that represents my country, the person that says that he is for the LGBTQ plus community and for their rights. And my simple statement is, if you say that you are, please, Mr. Trudeau, let's take some action here. Let's get these men out of that country. We'll gladly accept them in Canada. That's my...
The thing with what Justin said is that, like, you're expecting a country that is also a human rights violator when it comes to gay, lesbian, queer, trans people, and they put the fucking guy in power, and we're also pointing our weapons at Russia right now. So we're in Latvia pointing our tanks, pointing our planes. The Americans are doing the same. We're inches away from war with fucking Russia, and you want to call him up and tell him to pull his fucking pit bull off of fucking trying to kill all the gays? Like, that is the dumbest non-action I've ever heard in my life. Do you think you're fucking friends with Putin, that Justin Trudeau, the fucking, can call him and be like, Vladimir, would you mind? No, he's going to tell you to fucking beat it.
Well, hold on a sec. Allow me to play devil's advocate, because I'm very good at doing that. Sure. What exactly would you expect our prime minister to do at this point? It's not like we could just fly over there and do some kind of air bridge
Okay, so it starts off with sanctions
against Russia. Canada sanctions against Russia.
We have sanctions against Russia already, but we can put them against Chechnya, which is its sovereign country, an embargo on them. Ask all of our allies to do the same. Tell them that the UN has to come in and do a search for the concentration camps. And if they find the concentration camps or any of the tortured gay people, then yeah, we fly planes over.
There's also some other issues too. I agree with, some kind of UN action going into the country and seeing if these camps, like freeing people that are in these camps are detained, is also a fundamental underlying, like, societal problem. Because if you read some of the quotes from some of the Chechnyan officials, even if, first of all, there's this whole gay erasure thing where they believe that there's no gay people in Chechnya, so there was no one to detain or capture because they don't exist. That's another thing. But, like, there's such a culture of shame, and because of the anti-gay bigotry that's there, if gay people were to come out to their families, the families would just as well, sell them, not sell them out, but like rat them out to the officials and put them back in the camps, or do some other kind of drastic action to get rid of these people here. So even if you were to have some kind of campaign against Russia, there's still a societal problem there. Like, being gay in Chechnya in that type of environment is seen as extremely negative,
especially in an Islamic environment, right?
Killing you.
Yeah, but I mean, in the short term, we can at least negotiate to get these people released and into our custody. We'll take them. And as simple as that, because, I mean, that's crazy. Second, we can't allow a country to just systematically lock up its populace into concentration camps and do nothing once again. We saw it in Nazi Germany in the 1940s. We did nothing. The world did nothing. We sat by and did nothing. This is one time where we can do something and must do something.
Yeah, obviously it's not going to be on the same scale. Like you're not going to see 6 million people being slaughtered. Well, I guess the potential's there, but as for right now, they're just targeting gay and bisexual men, but they're still trying to commit genocide on somebody. You never let, like, the mistake in Rwanda letting that happen is a real blight on humanity. You know, I don't think that we can just put our hands up in the air and say, "Oh, there's nothing we can do."
Yeah,
that's not true.
And of course, let's face it too. If we manage to get all these gays and LGBT people into Canada, Canada's going to be much better decorated. We'll have great decorations all over the place, and that's a big plus.
Better dressed as well, I'm sure.
It's also interesting too that so when this story broke, a newspaper in Russia actually broke the story, and there's been such a backlash against the journalist for breaking the story that the journalist herself has been forced to go into hiding because religious leaders in Chechnya and other officials have basically threatened her life.
Yeah, that's so crazy. But this isn't the first. This isn't the first human rights violation that the president. I'm not even going to try to fucking pronounce his name. President fucking Dickface.
Ramzan Kadyrov.
Yeah. He has a long history of human rights violations, not just towards gay people, but to anybody that is against the Chechnyan government. They readily use torture. They kill people. Like, I think it was when Putin sent them in, it's just over 4,000 Chechen citizens were murdered by the incoming regime. So, and right now they're holding, apparently, the conservative number is that they're holding 100 gay men in the concentration camps and torturing them. One person did escape, and he said things like they made homemade electric chairs. So they were electrocuting them in homemade electric chairs, starving them, freezing them, beating them. And he knows of 4 of the men that were inside the camp that eventually died because of the torture.
And also during the torture as well, I think a lot of the goals of the torture is to actually get other
the names
gay men, so of other gay men, so they can be brought in and tortured as well. So, when you're facing this type of action, what do? You reveal the names of people and you put other people in danger, and then you're forced to do it. You don't have no choice. So it's.
I would start naming all the fucking imams.
Yeah,
good one.
Any of the. I would name the president. I'd be like, yeah, I suck the president's dick.
No, he's got to be sucking yours, right?
Okay.
It's even better.
So even I'll grant to a certain extent here that there may not be a whole lot that we can do, but I'm still going to throw a bit of a pitch fit over just the lack of conversation, especially on the left, about this problem, and why don't we care so much? I'd like to put it in almost a demeaning way, like the LGBT community is kind of the left's pet project. That's what they're so proud of. Why do they suddenly stop caring? Is it that it's another country, or is it that it's Muslims? And to me, this ties back to a certain extent to what I said in the intro. And it's not just atheists, but it's the left in general. It seems to have this soft spot for the Muslim community where we don't want to condemn them. We want to see them as victims. We've been bombing them for a long time, and maybe if we would be a little nicer, they'd be a little nicer. And we spend so much time defending them that we don't notice when they're rounding up all the gays and torturing them, or we don't care so much. Isn't this what we were so terrified that Trump was going to do? Some shit like this?
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Here's the fascist guys. Antifa. Are you getting on planes and going to Chechnya?
The other thing is that, so North America saved those people from genocide. Now, I'm not talking about the gay people that are in the concentration camps, but the people that are putting them in the concentration camps.
Yeah, the whole country.
We saved them. When they were the one that was being ethnically cleansed. So, how dare you then turn around and try to commit genocide on gay people after we came and fucking saved you from it your fucking selves.
Well, people have very short memories, and they have even a shorter attention span. Of course, you'll always bump into the conservative opinion that going over there is going to cost a lot of money, and that's usually what it comes down to. That's how you get people to work, whether you make it an economic issue or not. But the funny thing is, little unknown fact about Canada: when you're a refugee in Canada, as a refugee, you actually pay to come to Canada. It's not done on a tax dollar for the taxpayer's pocket. You actually have to pay back that debt, and that usually kills that conservative notion that, oh my God, we're going to spend so much money rescuing everybody.
I would have to look into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Just to respond. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to give a simple scenario. Let's say, for example, Dave, you were somewhere in a country and you're a refugee. What happens is the embassy will call you and say, okay, you're going to this hotel tonight. You spend the night there, and you do so. And then, of course, they'll take you the next day. They'll take you to the airport. They'll put you on a flight. You're flying here. By the time you come to Canada and everything is settled, they make you sign at the bottom of the line. This trip, the cost for rescuing you is in the whatever X amount, and you have to pay that back to the government.
Okay, but when they get here, they get welfare. They don't have to pay back the welfare once they're here.
No,
they get housing.
Yeah, but and of course, from a refugee's point of view, if going to another country saves your life, I mean, you're more than happy to sign on the bottom line, So what? It costs $100,000. Who cares? I'm alive, yes, right? And the percentage is, I don't have the stat with me, but the stat is these refugees actually pay back and then some, and the percentage of them paying back the entire debt is actually quite high.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's stupid to. I would just go and pick them up. Like, we spend enough money on other bullshit that we should just go and pick them up. Like, it's insane. But I still don't think, like, I know you guys don't think that there's much that can be done, but I kind of, I don't know, I disagree. So if you, let's look at it this way. If you give Putin something, then maybe he'll do something. You know what I mean? Like, if you let him back into the G8 or you do something like that, maybe then Putin would stop it. I still think that our government should be doing something more than just saying there's nothing we can do. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
We can never do anything enough to change the cultural milieu in that country.
Yeah, but that's not okay. So
no, that was the premise of what I was saying. But
yes,
we can start by doing something now to get these people free. That's not what I'm arguing against.
Yeah.
And there are efforts on the ground for LGBT agencies in Russia who are trying to get people out of there. It's probably difficult for them to do so because of the volatile situation there. But maybe we can do something to help those groups.
And that in Russia, the LGBT community is also looked down upon. I mean, this is not something that Putin is really concerned about. He wasn't concerned about it during the Olympics. He made it a point to point out that there would be no homosexual activity during the Olympics in his place. He passed laws. So, do you really think that he's a great person to send into Chechnya to see if there's anybody holding homosexual men and bisexual men in concentration camps? Not by a long stretch. No. I think that if the UN does not do something concerning this issue, then we should dismantle the UN, because the UN is useless at this point. If something this severe is being done without the UN even stepping into it or getting involved in any way, then it should be disbanded, because this is what the UN was built for, to prevent another Holocaust from happening.
Yeah, well, the UN, the head of the Human Rights Commission in the UN is Saudi Arabia. So that's laughable at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't like. I'm at a loss of what to do. I'm just an everyday, average fucking citizen. There's not much I can do other than give social commentary on it, talk about it on the podcast, bring it up anytime that I meet somebody that doesn't know what's going on. But the government needs to do something. Our governments need to fucking do something.
It's the first step to any situation. You have to start talking about it, and that's what we're doing. But we're also being atheists. Let's not forget, that Putin is being used right now by the Russian Orthodox Church to push this. Just like this guy in Chechnya is being used by the imams as well to push this bigotry, right? It always goes back to the religion, no matter what. It always has its point to everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. Like, let's be honest, it's Islam that's driving the hatred for gays in that country. Like,
for sure.
I'm sure that we can all get behind that, right?
For sure, because if it wasn't Islam, if it was a more secular country, then the population itself would have spoken up a bit at this point, right?
For sure.
But when the religion, when the Almighty tells you that no, you gotta hate the gays, well, you better hate the gays. And the funny thing about it too is, I don't see any evolutionary advantage to do so. What is the advantage to hate gays? I just don't see it.
Well, I think that in a culture like Islam, I think that they would feel that because those people are also Islamic or Muslims, that somehow it looks bad upon them, and it looks bad upon their prophet. Like it's bad for the religion in general, or it looks bad to them. Like fucking who really cares what looks bad to them? David, I'm going to give you last word on this.
Well, I was going to say, given the whole, just to summarize the whole culture of Russia's legacy in arts and culture is very, very gay. So, for anyone from Tchaikovsky to figure skating to ballet, like gays have been everywhere in Russia. They've been making Russia beautiful, doing all these things. I don't understand where this backlash came from. I guess it's the church. But if Putin's trying to erase any kind of LGBT influence on Russia, it'll always be there. It's always going to be there. And they just have to kind of realize that.
Yeah, that's funny stuff. Okay, we'll be right back after the break.
Hi, this is John Shane, and you're listening to the Wayward Atheist Podcast.
Okay, we're back from the break, and in this next segment, we're gonna give some updates on the situation between the U.S., North Korea, Russia, and Syria. It would seem to me, though, that Syria's kind of taken a back seat in this. People have kind of forgotten about what's gone on with Syria because fucking Kim Spoon or whatever the fuck his name is really he's like he looks like an exploding Cabbage Patch doll. That's what he looks like over there with his big fat plate face and fucking that fucking haircut. Jesus Christ! Like all three of them had that same stupid fucking haircut.
The power's in the hair, man. The power's in the hair.
Yeah, fuck. The power's in the great big fat face, man. Anyway, so we're gonna I guess just give a quick update on what's going on, because obviously a lot's happened since we last discussed this. So I guess like the armada that Trump had said he had sent, he didn't really send.
Yeah,
straight to North Korea, and that caused some problems with South Korea. But his name's Spencer, right? The lie machine that is Spencer got on TV and was like, well, what we actually meant was that they were going to Australia for some training, and that they would be in the vicinity. So if Kim acted up, then we could be there lickety split. Did you buy the story?
No. He forgot to send them. That's what it was.
He forgot to send them. Yeah, fuck.
I don't believe anything that Sean Spicer ever says, for the most part. I take it with a grain of salt unless there's evidence backing it up. But anyway.
Yeah. So it's Spicer, not Spencer. I'm thinking of the Nazi.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess they did end up trying to launch the missile the day after we we were on the podcast, and it failed to launch. And the word is that the United States hacked their launch and made it fucking fail. I would have
Did
liked
they need to do that?
I don't know if they needed to, but they did anyways.
Oh,
I would have liked to have been in little fucking Cabbage Patch Doll's room when it happened. Like, his head probably exploded, right?
Temper tantrum galore, right?
Yeah.
I actually shared a beautiful meme about it, where he had his little binoculars, and then it was a cartoon where the rocket burned through like its support, and then it crashed. Yeah. The internet has it's the greatest source of irony ever. But anyway, back to the World War.
Yeah. So moving on from there, he then decides to poke the bear, so to speak, and he sends out a propaganda video of North Korea dropping a nuke on an American city and destroying it, which obviously is going to fucking piss people off. So now the boats actually are heading over there, because not only did he make the propaganda video, he then proceeded to threaten to preemptively strike the United States with a nuclear weapon, which then made Pence get on the warship that they're sending, the aircraft carrier, and send him a message saying that America's sword is at the ready, and now they are heading over there. And so Japan, the U.S., and Australia, I guess some of the Australians are going with them as well, are heading over to North Korea. China is readying itself, obviously, because they're right beside North Korea. South Korea is on high alert, but in the shadows, eyewitnesses have said that Putin is lining himself up at the North Korean-Russian border, which is not good.
The only thing that really, like, the silver lining in this for me is the fact that China is backing the United States 100%. They're actually getting their bomber planes ready, and not to mention the 150,000 troops they sent to the border. That's the silver lining, and I think when you have a combined force, Putin's going to pull back. I don't think he's going to make a play here.
But you do know that China denied that they have their bombers ready.
Not according to the article I read today.
Okay, so CNN retracted or made a statement along with their article saying that Chinese officials are denying the fact that they have their bombers ready. I don't believe that. I think they do have them ready.
Oh yeah, they're always ready, just like the Americans are always ready for their bombers too. The late great Christopher Hitchens used to say that North Korea was the most religious state he's ever seen. And this is what worries me about North Korea. For decades now, the people have been groomed to think that it's inevitable the United States will attack North Korea. They don't, of course, in like every conflict, they don't see themselves as the aggressors either. So this is just playing exactly into what Christians, what a religion would say essentially, are like a prophecy being realized. You're playing exactly into what King Jong, whatever his name is, wants in a way.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
Like they're forcing our hand. Like they can't. Well, first of all, as an American, it's kind of cute that they're making videos about blowing up one of our cities. You know, we have a few of them, and you guys don't have so many. So,
here's a question: would it be more efficient to use maybe like our friend Peter Boghossian would say, you know, you just ignore him, don't invite him at the grown-ups table. You know, are we not playing into his hands by going over there?
Well, yeah, that's what I was. My question was like, was it a rational response based on that video to have like a military response to it?
Okay, but
to me that strikes at me as something for him
Sorry, David.
I'm sorry. Something that he's going to just show his people that he's strong.
That's right.
We're going to blow up an American.
If he wasn't trying to actually acquire a delivery system for the nuclear technology that they do have, I still wouldn't agree, but I would give more credence to what you guys are saying. The issue is that for me, I care about what's happening to the people inside of North Korea. See, I know this may sound fucking lofty, and it may be like a romanticized view of the world, but I still believe in the fact that we go to war over the dumbest shit. We go to war over oil. We go to war over religion. If my country's going to go to war, or even if I'm going to sign up to going to go to war, it'll be over something like actually liberating people. Because, like I said on the last program, nobody deserves to be liberated more than the citizens of North Korea.
Well, I totally agree with that.
They're completely shut down.
I say it in another way too. Like, to me, this is an inevitable conflict. Are we really gonna let this guy develop nuclear weapons and delivery systems? Is that what we're gonna do? Is that the president we're gonna set on a global scale? That we don't care how you treat your people. We don't care what your rhetoric is. If you're mean enough, you can have whatever you want.
And to add to that, though, Dustin, is the fact that we've played Mr. Nice Guy to North Korea for decades.
Right. It just gets worse.
Yeah, I mean, every time their crops fail, what they do is they start testing bombs, and so they say to the world, if you give us rice and give us food, then we'll cease testing our bombs. And the world has caved in every time.
They are essentially he's playing the role of like an Austin Powers villain. Like, I have my laser weapon centered on your city. Give me $1 million. Like, and we send them bags of rice with smart shit, engraved into it, and then he sends some propaganda out with it. But the longer we wait, the worse the inevitable conflict is going to be, because they're getting better technology. Do we let them build this bomb?
Well,
and if not, how do we stop them? Like full stop. I think that's the question on the table. If we're saying whether or not we should go to like any sort of conflict with them, or even act like we're going to have conflict with them.
I'm going to slightly disagree with you here, Dustin, because I don't think I don't think there is such a thing as an inevitable war. I really don't think there is such a thing. I mean, they were saying that about the Cold War. They were saying that about the nuclear bombs were going to drop before the 2000s. They were saying that forever. And if you look at history as your guide, and although the idea of liberating the North Korean is a noble one, and I fully support that, unfortunately, every time an outside force comes in to liberate, quote unquote, a people, it fails miserably. The spark must be set from inside.
That's not true. That's not true at all. I got to push back on that.
Okay.
World War II.
We have South Korea as well. I believe they're doing pretty well, and we liberated them from the communists and invaded. Like a lot of Asia, actually, we liberated and brought a better society to them than the neighbors that were not.
And the issue that with Iraq.
Sorry to interrupt you. I shouldn't interrupt you, Kevin.
No, not at all. No. We can certainly agree to disagree on these things. Yeah. I'm thinking, for example, the Iraqi War was a perfect example of that. We went in there to supposedly liberate people, and it was a spectacular failure.
The issue with Iraq was not that we went in to liberate them. The problem with Iraq is that we left way too early. That created a vacuum that allowed a group like ISIS to take hold.
I absolutely agree with
that. If we had stuck to the original plan, meaning or went in with a decent plan instead of going in half-cocked and just taken out the leader and just said, okay, we've had enough time here. And I mean, to liberate a people like in Iraq properly, and to keep outside forces like Al Qaeda and ISIS from ever going into Iraq, you're talking about a long-term military incursion into that country, and to prop up the government so that it will be so sure in its footing that it would be able to repel those invaders themselves.
Exactly.
That's the issue where we went wrong.
I would also like to bring up that I'm not sure that World War II was anything but inevitable. You have an aggressor transgressing on others. That's an inevitable war. That's what I mean. Not all wars are in our hands to start. So you get to the situation of, do we wait until this aggressor attacks us, or do we wait till they're confident enough? Do we wait till they have the greatest weapons available to them to fight us? At this point, if there is a war, it's going to be the first time a nuclear power is invaded, and we definitely want to make sure that if they use them, it's going to be in their country.
The saddest part is that I'm not concerned about the United States being attacked. My concern is they're using nuclear weapons on South Korea.
That's right.
And so, when is enough of when does a bully how many times we back down from that bully before we have to get involved and actually stop and say, no, enough's enough. You're not as strong as you think you are. We have to stop this from happening. We can liberate the people. We can stop a nuclear threat to not only South Korea or Japan or what have you. We can prevent a real nuclear war. And that's something that I really don't want to engage in. I don't want a nuclear combat by any stretch.
Let me ask you something, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
What would be worse than what they have right now?
What would be worse than what they have right now?
Yeah, for the people. Like you said it's always a disaster when
Well, we're making the assumption here, first of all, that the vast majority of the people want to be liberated and also want our system of democracy. That might not necessarily be the case. There's too many factors here, and it's easy for us here being armchair generals to say, well, we do this and we should do that. But the reality is there's a ton of information we don't have, even about the country itself.
Okay, but when you have people that defact from when they are able to escape and get into South Korea,
mm-hmm.
they then tell us what's going on there.
Yes.
So the people are terrified of the regime.
Yes.
They're forced into doing things, and they don't actually know that they don't know how the rest of the world works. They don't know what we have. They don't know what's going on.
And I agree.
So,
the amount of food that you have, the amount of luxuries that you have in your life is based almost solely off of how loyal they think you are to the party and the government. Mm. And if you're caught to be betraying, it's not only you but your children, like your family, gets put in concentration camps. Like it's that's what we're saying. Like.
No, don't
show up and make it worse. How?
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we should just leave North Korea be and just bygones be bygones of these people to their fate. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I'm not so sure that a show of force is necessarily the best way to topple somebody like Kim Jong-un.
I'm not a political science guy, but like it would have to be any show of force would have to be supplemented by some smart thinking. Like so, there's going to be some kind of vacuum if the leader was to be overthrown. Like we need to start getting like a constitution drafted. Like pieces of the chessboard need to be in play before I think any kind of military action would be done.
I think the problem with the people wouldn't necessarily be that they're going to be unhappy that they no longer have a dictator. The issue is going to be is that they're institutionalized.
Well, yeah, that is a big problem, and also the fact that we have a tendency to assume right away that they're going to embrace our capitalist system, like we did the same mistake in the Middle East. We assume right away they're just going to welcome us. Oh my God, I want a McDonald's on every corner. That's not necessarily the case. I think it's a lot smarter to come in under the radar and send abolitionists and these kind of saboteurs into the country first to try to get the population to start rising up against the dictator. Before coming in,
and there has to be somebody who has to take the leadership mantle, and that person needs to not be assassinated before any
Okay,
but that's pretty naive.
I'm sorry.
In North Korea,
like sending people into North Korea, You don't understand. It is controlled 100%. It's impossible to sneak people into North Korea to then make an uprising with the citizens. And even if they did, if they were caught, their family for the next 100 generations are sent to fucking work camps where they're literally worked to death.
I mean, they had some dissonance in North Korea during Kim Il-un's Father's Day, Kim Il-sung, and the dissidents were literally shot and their families in prison, like Dave just said. I mean, this is not something that hasn't been tried before. I mean, as I mentioned last week, the United States used to give them grain, rice to be particular, and they wrote on it, this is a gift on behalf of the United States. On each grain of rice, by the way, which is an amazement in of itself, not including the bag. And Kim Il-sung said, "See how powerful I am, that the United States, the great power, pays me tribute." So there is always a spin that they're using on their own people. Now, there are people, the defectors, as David mentioned earlier, that have come out of North Korea, know that this is not good. They know that they don't want it, but they have no recourse to get out of it. They will be tortured, brutalized, and maimed. We had a citizen, I believe he was an American citizen, who stole a sign in a hotel room in North Korea and was forcibly, and you could see it on his face, told how to address the media, and basically defamed himself and how he defamed the United States in that in his commentary. So this is, I've watched this happen for decades in North Korea. It's a cyclical conflict that needs to come to a head at some point. I'd rather it do it on our terms than his.
And I want to interject here too, man. Like, not trying to jump on you, and I really respect the perspective that you're bringing. Like, and I'm glad that we had you on so that we could have some pushback on this. And I definitely understand being shy to pull the trigger on this type of thing. And we do have the convenience of being on a commentary show where we're not the people making the decision to go in. So you're absolutely right that we are playing kind of armchair generals here because we're not ordering anyone to their deaths. And I definitely have a respect that it is a very complex situation. We're just hammering out and looking at the unique situation here, and it's not looking good any way you slice it.
Well, like, in order to get people into the country, so the government in North Korea has to approve the people first, and then when the people actually arrive in North Korea, they're given a government, like anybody from the West, is given a government chaperone. And these chaperone are secret services, and they follow them everywhere. And that is every single tourist that goes into North Korea gets a chaperone, and they're only shown the things that the government of North Korea wants you to see. And you're not allowed to have like deep, long conversations with the citizens that live in North Korea. So, a form of sabotage, although like I wish that somebody could just sabotage the system and the people became, uprised against the government. But let's not forget that they're also highly indoctrinated people. Like the grandfather's still the president, and they revere him as a fucking deity, right?
I mean, Christopher Hitchens also said that that when he went to North Korea, he wasn't allowed to look at the citizens. And he said that was, how could you do anything subversive in that context? How could you pass off anything that was remotely propaganda in favor of the West and against the government. It's almost highly impossible. I know the United States dropped leaflets one time and they burnt them, but they tried that a couple of times.
No, I just want to say, like I said, I'm not a general, nor do I have military experience in that sense. But to me, as a lay person, it seems that it would be a bit more efficient, or maybe less costly, for us to fight in a guerrilla style. Make him waste his resources. I don't think that sending warships on his coast, assuming that he's going to be the only one sitting there by himself and not knowing where the other countries are going to sit on this and who's going to take advantage of the situation. I think it's you're pulling the trigger a tad fast. Now, I'm not saying, what's the next step? Do we just go there and also just drop a bomb preemptively? Do we lose that moral high ground if we do such a thing? These are all excellent questions we need to really ask ourselves before we do something like that with North Korea.
Yeah, but we've had 5 decades to come up with that idea, and I'm not trying to be. I'm playing sort of devil's advocate here too. We've had 5 decades of the Un family in control. We've seen Kim Il Sung, Kim Il and Kim Il Un. Yeah,
I can't tell when you're messing up and when you're getting it right. I can't tell. Like I thought my CD was skipping.
We've had 5 decades of the same strategy. These people are not beyond killing their own people to make an issue. We've been the nice people. We've given them rice. The best policy that we could do outside of military action is for someone like China to place the biggest sanction of all and stop purchasing their coal reserves from. And that is the only option outside of military.
That's 50% of North Korea's economy is the coal to China.
I think the economic weapon is actually much more efficient than the military one in a situation like this. I mean, are we also asking? Yeah, I'm going to keep playing devil's advocate here because I'm very good at it. Are we also asking North Korea to necessarily just play ball, or otherwise you get kicked off the planet? I mean, the regimes, like you say, 5 decades of the Kims. Is not the only one in history. There's been plenty of regimes that have lasted for many, many years that weren't playing ball with their neighbors. Does that necessarily justify
North Korea right?
No.
Does that make it right?
But does it make it right for us to impose this kind of order on them?
Yeah, I think when you look at the human right violations that are going on in North Korea, yeah, we are right in this situation. We are the more ethical people when it comes to this situation. And if you sit back and do nothing, it's just more of the same, man. And
I'm just wondering,
we waited long enough. Like we waited through the grandfather, we waited through the father, and if I don't know like how long you've been following North Korea, but you'll notice a pattern.
We're Facebook friends.
Every few years they pop back up in the news where they're testing something and they want something from the West, and we bow down and we give in to their demands. And they never give anything in return. They never lighten up on their citizens. They never open up the country so that people can see what's going on over there. Like it's the same. We're what's that saying? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
But
that's what's happening.
Can we say we have a very different relationship with Saudi Arabia? We have the same type of relationship almost.
So you're never going to get an apologist for Saudi Arabia on this show.
Of course not.
I hate Saudi Arabia, and I think we should fucking cut them off. I think fucking our governments are a bunch of fucking Saudi whores that sell weapons.
I truly agree,
but do everything else with them.
But then again, sending a fleet of ship to Saudi Arabia, for example, I don't think would work very well either.
Let's fucking do it.
If they start threatening to nuke all the neighbors and pretty much holding the world ransom, I think we'd be sitting here and thinking about, do we ignore them? What are we going to do about it, guys? You think we should go in? Like, are we gonna let them sit here and say that they're going to nuke us?
So when we talk about military action, I'm not necessarily opposed to it myself. I just want to know the long game. I want to know, like, if you guys, like, what would be the grand plan? What would be the
reunited Korea?
Stop. Yeah, a united Korea. Let the Koreans handle it afterwards. But just stop the threat of nuclear assault on South Korea, because eventually he's gonna fucking have the delivery system. If he's just allowed to just keep building the technology, eventually he's going to have the delivery system. And then when he uses it on South Korea, or he uses it on Japan, because he's not a fan of Japan either, then what are we going to say?
Are we in agreement here that maybe the biggest, I mean, North Korea is a pariah. We all agree on that. Are we agreeing that maybe, as far as nuclear threat is concerned, maybe North Korea is not the number one threat?
No, I think for the use of nuclear weapons, North Korea is probably the biggest threat we'll ever face.
You would say above. You would say above above insurgents or militants or extremists.
No, that have nuclear weapons and are able to dispose of them at the West.
I would say, of course, the most likely chance for a nuclear strike is some sort of terrorist organization.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Or really, getting a hold of some kind of, decaying nuclear arms, or even making their own homemade. But I want to say that we are already spying on the entire world trying to prevent that.
And I would say,
and I think that's a completely different situation. The most likely country to bomb my country, if they could, I would say North Korea. Now, if I was sitting in Israel, I would have a longer list.
But I would say, guys, that the most likely spot for nuclear war on the planet is the border of Pakistan and India.
I totally agree with that. Agree with that.
Even that is the most likely spot. But I'm just saying, like, it's a powder keg. North Korea is a powder keg.
Oh yes, there's no doubt about that.
If we leave it, it festers longer. More people are hurt. The citizens are hurt for longer. And like, I'm not a fan of I don't want to come across as like a fucking guy that's sitting in his house like, yeah, let's go and fucking kill. Like, I would prefer that there was no war.
Oh yeah,
like, I would prefer that fucking North Korea didn't do shitty. Like, they could be shitty. They could be a shitty country with a shitty governmental system, but not do the things that they do to their citizens, and not threaten Japan, South Korea, United States, like all basically the West every time they wanted something with nuclear weapons, and quit testing them. I wouldn't even have an issue with it. I would never.
I mean, it's obvious that Kim Jong-un's son, whatever his name is he's good at spinning things. It's obvious, right? And he, like any politician, he spins things in his favor all the time, right? I don't know. I mean, it's a very, very complex situation. Sorry?
I would imagine he has a team of.
Oh, absolutely, right.
Spinning it up, but like he seems to be more vicious than his dad. So like when he took over, he assassinated his uncle and he assassinated his half brother, and well, he didn't assassinate him. He executed him. And when he executes people, if the higher up in the government system or the military they are, the bigger show he makes of it. So like one of the executions that he did was he tied a guy to a stick on like a big pole out in the field, and they launched an anti-aircraft missile at him, and that's how they killed him.
Talking about going out with a bang.
Yeah.
And
too early, huh? Too early, huh?
Okay.
No, just right. I like this.
What I want to throw into the mix is that when we're talking about famine and him testing bombs, what he's basically doing is using our humanity against us.
Yes.
So we don't want to see his people starving to death. So we capitulate and give them food.
Yes.
Which further makes it compounds the problem because they become reliant on us, and so they know, like a spoiled child, that all they have to do is kick up a fuss and we'll give in to their demands. Until we don't, and then what happens? That's my particular issue is what is he going to do? What is he willing to do to his own people to make us kowtow to his demands?
Or to South Korea.
Do you guys think that we need China's buy-in in any kind of action we do take? I don't see us,
of course,
doing anything without China's.
No, China's the key. China's the key, I think.
And China is on our side on this.
And fucking surprisingly, the orange bastard pulled China to our side.
Yeah.
Agent Orange was the one that broke the deal.
Agent Orange, I love that.
I would say it's nice to think about other ways, right? So it's nice to think about is there any way that we can start an uprising kind of like Arab Spring, or is there any humanitarian effort, or is there any negotiating with him? But I just think at this point, all of that has failed. Up until this point, it's been so long that it's almost it boggles the brain that there is a country like this that exists in 2017.
Yeah.
It really, it's hard to understand how it can still exist at this day and age. I just don't see any other way other than to take out their leader. I just don't, there's just before he does something truly insane. I just don't see it.
Okay. So I would totally have a problem with the United States just kicking in the door and bombing shit and fucking things up, right? But if we manage to get a general consensus, and what is the use of having a global community and standing militaries outside of trying to kill each other, unless it's to say these guys they cannot continue to hold the world hostage. They cannot continue to hold their people hostage. They cannot continue to abuse and neglect. And there's no positivity. Nothing good is coming from it, and it's just a world of suffering. And I wish that it wasn't happening, and I hope that there's not conflict. But more than anything, If we're going to come together and use the military for anything good ever, it's going to be a situation like this.
That's a good point. I might want to throw another wrench into this.
Okay, go ahead.
Just like I like to do. We have to bear in mind also that although he's abusing his population, he also needs it. He can't run this entire country and its resources by himself, right? Or his immediate surrounding. He needs that workforce. It's a bit like a lot of historians will say that one of the biggest mistakes that Hitler did during World War II was to exterminate the Jews because he had a free workforce there. So at some point he's abusing his society, his people, yes, but I also think that he must know at some point that there's a certain balance. He must keep him working as well for him to feed his machine. So how bad will he actually treat his people? How far would he go? I don't know. You tell me.
Oh wow, that's
okay. So how do you want to know how bad he fucking launches fucking rocket launchers at them? He sends them to fucking slave camps to work themselves to fucking death.
They must worship him.
They must worship him. If they don't cry, if something sad happens. Okay, for instance, when his father died, if they didn't cry hard enough, not only them, but their entire families and the next generations were sent to work camps to basically die in the work camps.
And what a bar Like they're not choosing suicide over life yet. Like he hasn't murdered them all. Like what I'm saying is what is worse than what he is doing? Like Christopher Hitchens used to very effectively say that God was North Korea on crack, or heaven was, but because North Korea is hell on earth, and it has been for that long.
No, I'm just wondering if Kim Jong, whatever his freaking name is, if he realizes how unsustainable this would be.
Yeah.
What if he does? Then he kills a certain amount and he lets a certain amount go, and then in the end he still keeps the rest of the population oppressed. He doesn't actually kill them, but they're still slaves.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, like that's not I can't see that as a viable option for us.
No. I'm just saying.
I do actually have the answer.
Oh, okay.
What is it?
I will send Dennis Rodman over to buddy with the North Korean leader and hopefully get some negotiating going on there. He's been successful so far, hasn't he?
Yes, because they were obsessed with the 92 Chicago Bulls is what it was. For the 1988. Whenever Rodman, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen were all on the same team, the Oons were obsessed with it.
And they probably still have the 92 calendar. They're still in 92 over there in North Korea.
Yeah, but I mean, like, again, none of us are politicians or any of the real decision makers, but this is something that I've thought about a lot. It just, eventually you have to say enough's enough. Like, you can't just allow him to run roughshod on people. Anyways, we're beating a dead horse here.
What a terrible topic.
It is a terrible topic. Absolutely is.
Yes, let's move into some laughs.
Yeah. All right, man. We're gonna head into the next segment. We'll be right back. Okay, and that brings us to piss on this. No further ado, Dustin, take it away.
And, this kind of fits with the theme of last week of are they Poe? Probably not. And we're talking about Alex Jones. And anyone that's been paying attention, he's going through a divorce, and his lawyers have made the case that he is an actor, that he's just putting on a show, that the whole thing is fake and he doesn't believe it. Which I think is very fascinating. I've wondered myself whether or not he really believes and how much he believes. But we're going to get to hear his rebuttal. How's he going to save his fans? And this is less funny, but let's give it a listen.
I am an actor. We're all actors, but I believe in what I stand for. I'm not an actor as my main identity, but I'm a talented person, and I, with my small children, would play like I was a goblin or a pirate or a superhero, and I would chase them around the house, like a grandpa plays with their kid in the yard. We all do that. You ever, with your wife or whatever, had role play? You're an actor. Does that mean you're not a real person? It's the war on knowledge, the war on intellect, the war on.
So let's pause. Let's pause there. Is that the argument that his lawyer is making? No, it's absolutely not. And he is absolutely not going to address, right? He's going to straw man this entire thing, which, by the way, if you can't tell, he's doing this while he's driving around in a car.
And he keeps looking at the recording and not driving.
And it's not like a mounted camera. Like the camera guy nods at one point. He's got a guy in the car with him and he's yelling out about how he's not fake, but he's an actor.
I'm still shocked at the fact that he's married and getting laid.
Oh, not anymore.
Okay.
All right, so let's get back into the clip. We got a lot of ground to cover.
Like people say, oh my God, like people, I've had famous liberals come to my house and they see oil paintings I've done, or they'll pick up a piece of paper with some poetry I've written on it, and they go, oh my God, it's all fake. You're not a right-wing extremist. And I go, I was never a right-wing extremist. I'm a thinker. I'm an open person. I am who I am. I do have a Texas accent. I am from Texas. People think you're dumb if you're from Texas. It's ridiculous. And I'm not talking about myself, but because they have to attack who I am everywhere. And they have to misrepresent who I am and what I stand for and take everything out of context.
Nobody has to misrepresent you, Alex. You run around screaming about black SUVs, helicopters, the data's in my brain, I can't sleep at night. Fucking interdimensional child molesters.
Yeah,
nobody misrepresents him.
I think either this man is a very good actor, or he actually believes what he's talking about, and either way, it's a very sad state of affair.
Yes, and and if he is, if he doesn't believe what he's saying, and it is an act through and through, bravo, sir. I tip my hat to you. Like he is the greatest Poe of all time, which very quickly is satire so convincing that you're accepted among the people that you're mocking or imitating. Mm-hmm. Like how he has done an incredible job.
But it's dangerous is all hell what he's doing.
Yes.
Well, for him personally, it's a very severe battle for him, because he is on one end of the seesaw is his career, and on the other end is the custody of his children. So he has to, he's in a very tough place. He has to play the career thing, say that he's an actor or whatever that means. But I'm sure he really wants to have custody of his children or share custody, and his children are going to be taken away from him. It's right. A really weird. What's his priority? His career as a conspiracy theorist, right-wing guy, or his relationship with his kids?
But he doesn't have a relationship. That's one of the things that came out in the court case, was that he couldn't tell basic things about his kids. Like, for some weird reason, a bowl of chili came up in. I remember that. But anyway, he's not. Yeah, it was because
he used it as a defense. Something,
he made like a joke where someone was asking a question about his kids, and he's like, I don't know, I just had a big bowl of chili, it was like he has this whole persona of I like to eat steaks, drink beer, and have children. Like I'm brand American meat and fuck guns in Texas, and that's his persona. So he just went almost in a Trumpian thing where he's just gonna fall back to his character that he plays, rather than actually addressing the question or are you getting into it? Maybe.
So should we feel sympathy for him?
No, goodness no.
A father to his children.
No, I mean feel sympathy for the father, sure, but I mean he's made more than enough money. I'm sure he could just disappear through the night and retire on his money. I'm sure he's got no money issues. He's been doing this for how long now?
This is here's the thing. I would have sympathy for him if he were to say, you know what, this is an act, but what's important is that I keep my children. But if he is holding his business over his children, and he's willing to split these hairs and risk this video right here being played in court, and let's be honest, it will be. How much does he care, really? And I'm all, I don't think fathers' rights is for their children is taken seriously enough in the Western world. Like, I don't ever beat that drum, but that's an opinion that I hold, and this is just not one where I have much sympathy for the guy.
The most damning video, or the one that's used mostly against him, is the Joe Rogan podcast, where he proceeded to smoke weed and drink whiskey for fucking 4 hours and just say the most insane stuff. The wife's lawyers are using that against him as well.
Anyway, back to Alex Jones.
To say, like, facing the crowd, like he does at the end of the movie, where he goes, I don't like any of you, I'm not really real, all this stuff. Well, that's not who I am. I am completely real, and everybody knows it. But the media is so deceptive, they'll take that clip where I said, I'm not really real, whatever, and then say I said I wasn't real. And I literally had a guy on the street yesterday prancing up to me, going, I used to be a listener, oh my God. And he was real Nelly. And he goes, you're fake now. Like I don't like you now. That person was never a real listener. I have liberals come over and boo at me at dinner tables with my family sometimes, and we'll like knock a glass over. Usually not with my family. They'll do it when I'm with friends or something, not when I'm with kids, because they at least have that decency. But it's happened once. It's happened many other times.
Hold on a second.
Did it happen once or did it happen many times?
Well, hold on a second. Is he saying he's fake or is he saying he's real? What is he saying here? I'm confused.
So am I. I'm always confused after listening to Alex.
He's saying that he's real. He's saying that he puts on some dramatizations that are meant to be entertainment, but the general and I listen to a show because I hate myself. But the general story that he puts out, which is yada yada, interdimensional space demon, children, rapist, government cabal. Oh, that's real. But sometimes he puts on a lizard mask and makes noises into a microphone.
So if I may ask the crew there, how many of you guys think this guy actually believes what he says?
I think he's played the character so long he does believe it.
So the threshold my biggest worry is that despite all this drama going on with this custody battle, that his true core believers won't be skeptical. So it's in a general society, in our discussion with the election and all that, we know that he's a conspiracy theorist. He's peddled fake news, etc. But there's still a core audience that thinks that whatever he says is true. So the threshold now is that there's a custody battle, and this custody battle is now the lens that people have to adjudicate whether what he's saying is true or not. I'm just wondering, like, is that the real threshold that people are going to break for this? Like, to me, he's just gonna like. I don't know. I don't even know why he's even doing this, because people are still going to believe him regardless.
Yeah, people.
Why is he putting?
He's saying what he's got to say to keep his kids, and that's a good argument, and he might. So I mean, I think you're making a really good point. And sorry I cut you off. I'm a terrible person.
I forgive you.
Okay, thank you.
Carry on with the audio.
Oh God.
Knock over a glass, or they'll go boo, boo, boo. Like I'm in third grade and go, oh, you said boo to me. I'm going to go in the corner and put my dunce hat on. But see, that's what it's all about. So I had a guy walk over to me and prancing. And they're prancing online going, finally, you admit it's all fake, none of it's real. Yeah, Briggs, it's fake. Taking down the New World Order's fake. Getting all the gun laws repealed, that's not happening. No, it's happening. Getting a good Supreme Court justice appointed, that's not happening. Everything we want is starting to happen. Globalism is in crisis. World government is now admitted to be real. Our audience exposed it. They took action, and that's what the globalists are really attacking, is our audience.
Wait. He said that the one world government is admitted?
That is what he said, and that's not true.
Where and when? Citation, motherfucker.
Did you get the memo? I mean, I got
did
one.
Not.
Because I'm part of the Illuminati. See?
I hear this argument all the time. I hear this argument all the time about New World Order. And you know what? In all honesty, I can't understand what was really so bad about the idea. I mean,
the idea of a one world government bothers me because of the incredible chance of totalitarian abuse, and also when you have multiple governments that act they make their own individual decisions. Each one is kind of an experiment to see what works and what doesn't, and who liberates you from the one world government when they abuse your human rights.
Well, but I mean, every government, and for the history of Canada, for example, is a very good example for that. Canada unified as one country to defend itself against the United States in its history. At the time, it was also pushed that, oh my God, you can't do that because there's going to be the threat of totalitarianism again. But if you did that on a planetary scale, you just do that on a bigger scale. But wouldn't you at the same time essentially eliminate the wars? If we were one nation, on a global nation, would there actually be inter-country wars? You would eliminate that by
There
itself.
wouldn't be inter-country wars. There would just be rebellions.
Yes. But if you eliminate the war from country to country, isn't that almost worth the price?
No.
No?
You can be, because it's to enslave a nation is one thing. To enslave a globe is a total different.
Well, I'm just wondering what you guys are going to enslave right away.
Because it's easier. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So when you have a person or a group of people or the president of the world, that kind of power will corrupt.
Yeah, but just like every government, we always put safeguards, right?
I mean, it would be a democracy, right? It would be like we can elect people.
And we'll get Trump. Also,
in our fairy tale, hang on, in our fairy tale, we have the perfect leader, or the perfect leaders. We're enlightened by this point. Nobody's going to be oppressing anybody. Then of course the idea is good. But if you look at the way the world is right now, that's not how things work. Like we're nowhere near that.
Right now, if you gave the entire world a vote, and we're going to, vote on the world government, and they're going to decide the laws for the globe and how everyone interacts, how do you think that vote's going to go? How do you think Asia and the Middle East, and how do you think those population centers are going to vote? Do you think it's going to sway things well? Are we going to end up with a liberal democracy where everybody's free and we have freedom of speech, or are you going to get are you going to get beheaded for insulting?
It's a long way off.
Muhammad?
It's a long way off.
I'm just saying,
I think it's going to happen.
We have a bajillion problems to fix before we give democracy to the whole globe. Like you're talking about, what if they don't want democracy in North Korea? Like, what if the entire world doesn't want democracy, and when we give them what they do is destroy it? I mean, there's been a lot of countries that we delivered democracy to, and they, promptly used it to set up a totalitarian regime that destroyed the democracy because that's what they wanted in the first place.
But at the same time, we are also living in the most peaceful times in the history of the planet ever.
Right? Yes, right. And I would say that a big part of that is that there's no longer a group of superpowers. There's one country that has dominance. So anyone that really starts trouble is most likely going to lose. I mean, that's when the peace started. The Great Peace started when the United States became the lone superpower, or the major one.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I think the peace started really happening when economics became a better weapon than the gun. The globalization and the economies interacting with each other have always been way more efficient in persuading governments than the threat of at the end of a gun.
Well, hold on.
We're veering way off course here. I know. Sorry about that.
Sorry. That's fine. Let me ask you this: if the nuclear bomb wasn't discovered, do you think there would have been a hot war between the United States and Russia, or do you think nuclear bombs kind of kept it cold? Because I'm a fan of the latter, which
I think I agree with that.
The idea that there's been a great peace is because you start trouble with us, and it might be the end of the world, right? Like we're kind of held hostage by the military at this point. No one can really start a major war.
No, I can't agree with that. The nuclear deterrence certainly was one of the things that kept us sane in a way, right? Because we realized that the power of the weapon. Yeah, for sure.
All right, so Mike is really important there.
Let me interject. So Dustin brought up the fact of the one world superpower. It happens to be the United States right now. Do you think it is more likely that if you didn't have a superpower that was so far out in front of other people that for the bad doers, or even just for people that didn't get along, they would think, well, we can't really do that because they're obviously the United States is so far ahead of us? Or if countries were more on the same even keel, the way that we do have a propensity to go to war, I would say that there would, if countries were more even, that there would be a lot more wars. I think that it's a deterrent, along with the nuclear weapon, that there is one big superpower there.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I would think that I know it is very popular in the United States to think of themselves as the world police. I don't think that it's necessarily needed. There's a lot of places in the world. Of course, here we always have the United States in our periphery, and we always talk about them, and we're influenced by them as our major economic partner. But you go into some places in Asia and all that, they barely talk about the United States. So I don't think the United States has that big of a. It does have an influence, absolutely, but I don't think it's as grand as you think it is.
So you don't think that the United States government has influence on every single country government in the world? I'm not talking about the average citizens here. I'm talking about the policymakers.
No,
you don't think the world's the.
I'm saying that I don't think other governments are playing nice because of the threat of the United States. No, I don't think that.
I would say that. Okay, so here. The ones that I'm not talking about the ones that aren't capable of war. I'm talking about the ones that are. So like Russia, Iran, North Korea, China, like all the ones that are around the same level. You don't think they're playing nice because of the United States?
No, I think they have economic interest instead that keeps them nice. I think the economic persuasion is stronger than the military threat of the United States.
I don't know. I disagree.
Maybe.
I disagree.
I mean, that's possible.
Okay, I'm going to go at it from a different tact.
Oh, man, we are super in the weeds.
You're way off topic.
We're way off topic.
Yeah.
Let's get back to Alex.
Let's get back to, hey, Alex Jones, is he real?
Motherfucker, I've been waiting for 10 minutes.
Say it quick.
All I'm saying is when you have borders, you keep the major religions separate from each other. The moment you remove those borders, then you have 1.6 million Muslims, 2.0 million Christians. You have 1.6 Hindus. What will you think will happen when the borders collapse and we have to compete with three monotheisms and a polytheistic group that really don't like each other?
I think we're getting over it, Ed. I'm sorry.
I don't think so. I think there'd be so much massive war and death before we get to there.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to have to disagrry with you as well, because there's a lot of countries right now where these three monotheistic religion are cohabitating, and it's not because there's a border surrounding them or anything like that, right? They don't necessarily go to Egypt, for example. They don't necessarily go to
Egypt. Isn't bloody. The Coptic Christians are being slaughtered.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not what I heard, but that's okay. My information could be wrong, but I'm saying I don't think that the border, the physical border, is what would keep a religion at bay. I mean, do religion? I think
would we use? Whose laws?
Sorry?
Whose laws would we use?
I mean, that was my point. Like, if we let everyone vote and decide what the laws are going to be, a lot of the world likes authoritarianism. That was my whole argument earlier, and we're way into the weeds. So
yes, back to Alex Jones.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Alex Jones.
Try to demoralize them. These are the followers following a fake corporate cosmology. And here we come blowing it apart with total paradigm shift of just hardcore bona fide reality. Total commitment to the truth. Full spectrum resistance. Through art, literature, serious news reported, punditry, satire, comedy. I mean, and they just don't know what to do. So they start screaming, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake. All right, Infowars.com/show. I am out of time. Pray for us. The globalists are absolutely trying to bring us down, trying to take us down right now, because we're breaking through. There's a paradigm shift, and they're collapsing. The fake horror media knows it, so they're going to spew every vile lie they've got as they fire everything they've got. I keep missing the turn. As they fire everything they've got in abject, total, and complete panic. Abject, complete, total panic, because they don't know what they're doing. They're lost just like I'm driving around in circles trying to find the right turn here. And it's just so crazy.
He said like five sentences, and I don't think he said anything.
Right. All he said was, some of it's a joke and some of it's satire and some of it's real. And he's driving his car and he gets fucking lost. And that's basically all it is. And okay, full fucking stop. He says that there's emails saying that there's $65,000 worth of hot dogs being thrown against Obama's face, right? And we checked WikiLeaks. They're not fucking there. Okay, so either he's a lying cocksucker, he's fucking crazy, or he's faking, which is just the lying cocksucker. So that's
he is. He's clever. So I'm confused. Yes. Is he responding to his opposition in court's arguments against him? Because it seems like he's doing a really clever thing where he's now. His opposition in court, I guess his ex-wife, is now the globalist establishment who is calling him fake. Okay. Like he's incorporating that into his own.
He had to, in my opinion, he wanted to make a video that one is going to be played in court, and two, his people can see, and it's going to keep them in the fold. Right. Yeah. So he builds this really nice straw man, nothing argument of, he points out some things that are true and then some slightly crazy things. And then he just says outright that all the crazy
stuff is satire and jokes. That's the subtext there, but he's not saying it in a way that's going to push his fans away.
Yeah, but aren't we forgetting that his lawyer was the one that said he was an actor? It wasn't his wife's.
Right. So when that's played in court, that's not going to explicitly say that, like, oh, he believes these crazy things, right? That's covered by the acting, and then he's also making sure that in the same video that they're going to use that he's pointing out actually true things that he is reporting, right? He's trying to make himself look as sane as possible, and he's also making a straw man argument at the same time to distract. Decent job. Like I think it's going to keep a lot of people that listen to him. It's just enough where they don't have to think about it.
So what you're saying is they're going to have their he wants his cake and eat it too.
Yes. Yeah, which is why I don't feel bad if he loses his kid. Like if you're faking, fucking drop the mask and keep your kids, you cocksucker.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But he doesn't care about. I won't say he doesn't care about his kids. I think he cares more about himself and his ego, though.
Right.
Man has a massive ego.
I think that concludes this episode of the Wayward Atheist podcast. We do not in any way represent Left at the Valley. This is not their show. Poor man. Thank you for coming.
All right, Kevin.
Well, thank you so much for having me, guys. I appreciate that. We had a very fun discussion there.
Several, yes. Thank you.
Tell us where people can find you.
Yeah, well, you can find us, I guess the easiest way is to find us at leftatvalley.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at LATV Podcast. You can send us an email at leftatvalley@outlook.com. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Send me a message, something you want to hear. You want to listen to one of our shows. We're more than open, and we like to accept just about everybody. We just did a show for Easter there where we had a debate on the resurrection of Jesus with two Christians versus a couple of atheists. It was pretty cool, actually. So feel free to listen as much or as little as you want.
All right.
Don't say as little, say fucking listen.
Okay, fine. Fucking listen.
Fucking listen, you pricks.
All right.
They like it when you swear. Get all fucking aggressive.
All right. That's how you get American viewers on your show. You guys got to be a little less nice. You just got to be like, all right, you're all fucking up, and let me tell you how to run your countries.
I'm sorry.
Then Americans will tune in like a motherfucker.
I'll do the Canadian thing and say I'm sorry.
This was the Wayward Atheist Podcast. Visit our new website at waywardatheists.com. Follow us on Spreaker, Spreaker.com/waywardatheists. You can email us at waywardatheistpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at Wayward Atheists. and on facebook.com/waywardatheists. If you enjoy our content, feel free to leave us a review on iTunes, and feel free to support us at patreon.com/waywardatheists.